everybody, it's Emily at ARG Schooling, and welcome back to another episode of Homeschool Tidbits. Welcome back to Build Your Library's Homeschool Tidbits. Today we're going to be doing episode 59, and I'm going to be talking about how to assign grades in high school. In this weekly video series, I will delve briefly into a topic related to homeschooling, and I'll share some of my knowledge and expertise as a longtime homeschooling mother of 4 children, 3 of whom have graduated, 1 who is a college graduate, and 1 who will be graduating college this spring. Now, I get asked about grading in the high school years pretty frequently, so I wanted to address that in a tidbit. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I tend to think that we overcomplicate a lot of things about the high school years, and grading is definitely one of those things. In the world of traditional schooling, grades are this all-important thing, and everything depends upon them. But when you homeschool, they become far less critical. We know how our child is doing without needing a numerical system of grades to tell us. We're with them the whole time they're learning. And we can assess them far easier than a classroom teacher could because we're only working with 1 or just a few students as opposed to a room full of 30. So for the most of their education, grades are irrelevant. But then high school comes along, and along with it transcripts. And those transcripts require grades. So now what do? How do you give accurate grades? So first we should consider the purpose of grades. What are grades even for? Grading is just a way to communicate what your child has learned. They tell whoever is looking at those transcripts what courses they took and the level of effort they put into them. In my experience, when a child reaches high school age, they want to be graded. They love the idea of seeing how they compare with their peers, especially if they have friends who are traditionally schooled. Kids who have always been school curious find this an exciting new addition to their homeschooling experience. This is also a great way to give them feedback on their learning and how they might improve. For some children, it can be motivational. Having something to work towards and seeing how they can improve upon it can be motivating. Of course, they only have themselves to compete with in a homeschool setting, but self-improvement is the best kind of competition. So how do you give the grades? How does the grading work? So there are many schools of thought on this, and there's not really a right or wrong answer. Because there are so many different ideas about what a grade is, what a grade means. It's subjective. Different courses are also going to be graded in different ways. So your first step on this path is figuring out what your grading scale is going to look like. You can use Google to find out what are the basic grading scales. You could even find out what grading scale your local school uses if you want to stick with that. But you need to find the one that makes the most sense to you. I like to keep it very simple and make things easy, so the grading system I use is this one. And it's just based on 10 points per grade except for C and D. And F, of course, is anything under a 69. So it's really simply laid out. So A would be anywhere from a 90 to a 100. B is anywhere from an 80 to an 89. C is anywhere from 75 to 79. D is 74 to 70. And anything under 70 is an F. I'm not big on worrying over pluses and minuses. I don't give A plus, A minus, any of that. An A is an A, and I like to keep it as simple as possible. Now, you will be including the grading scale that you use on your transcript. That just gives the people looking at it an idea of how you are grading. Now, some courses are going to be a lot more straightforward and easy to grade than others. Math, for example, is pretty cut and dry for the most part. Some online courses like teaching textbooks will even give you a grade. They'll do it right there for you in their program. So you don't even have to think about it. Now, to give you an example of how a grading system can work, we are currently using Denison Algebra, and they give you a helpful, easy-to-use grading system to assign grades in their course. So I'm going to try to explain it to you guys in a way that makes sense, I hope. Okay, so each chapter is going to contain assignments. So you'll have several assignments for each of the sections that you're working through. Chapter 1 is going to have like section 1-1, section 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, and so on. And each of those has an assignment. And those assignments are worth 10 points. And it doesn't matter if they got any wrong. As long as they did it and they checked their work and completed it, they get 10 points. Now, the test at the end of the chapter is worth 100 points. And that you do grade. There's 20 problems, 5 points each, and you just work out how many they missed and figure out the score from that. So once you've assigned the 10 points for each assignment and graded their test, now you add up those points. Once you've added the points, you're going to divide the points earned by the points that were possibly earned, and then multiply that by 100. It's a little bit mathy, but trust me, it's not that hard. Even I can do it. So if they did 8 assignments, so that's 80 points total that they could have earned on that, and then they got a 90% on the test, so they got 90 out of a possible 100 on their test, you would average that out to be a 94. Okay, so that's how you can do it for a subject that has a lot of assignments and things to grade. But what if a course doesn't have daily work like that, or it's mostly project or discussion based? Then what? So you can still accurately represent how much of the material your child learned and understood without having a lot of assignments to grade. Are they participating in the discussions, or are you doing most of the talking? Can they explain what they learned through narration? Can they write a coherent essay or complete a research project about what they learned? Are they putting in reasonable effort into their work and projects? So if you feel like they really get it, they understand, they're doing the work well, that's an A. If you feel like they need to work harder, maybe apply themselves a bit more, but they do seem to be understanding it for the most part, that's a B. If they're phoning it in, but you know they get it, they just don't care, they're not trying that hard, but they do understand it, that's a C. Now, if they're not getting it at all, that's when I stop, we back up, and I look at it differently. Maybe we're approaching this material wrong, and perhaps we need a different curriculum. Maybe we just need to back up and review more. Whatever that thing is, you need to go back and reassess and fix it. I don't give my children anything below a C. If they are doing that poorly, we're doing something wrong and we need to figure it out so we can fix it. There's no point to assigning a failing grade to your homeschooled child. So if they're not getting it, back up, figure out what's going on, and try again. And then you just work at it until they can improve. So you could use a similar system to the one we talked about before with any subject, just adjusted to make sense to the course. So like for something like history, where there's a lot of discussion and maybe a handful of writing assignments or some projects, you could grant 10 points for participation in discussion, then like 30 points for writing assignments, maybe 60 points for projects, and then average all of that out in the same way we did for math. Now, for a course like art or something in that vein where it's all creativity and that kind of thing, I'm not worrying about averaging grades. I look at the work they're doing, and if they're putting in effort, if they're working hard at it, if they're doing their best effort, that's an A. In that type of course where the work is creative, I'm just looking at what was the goal of the course? What were we trying to accomplish? Are we accomplishing it? Awesome. A. So the key takeaway here, what I hope that you're getting from this video, is that grading does not need to be complicated. It's really just about ensuring that your child is understanding the material you are teaching them. So choose a grading scale that makes sense to you, determine how you want to average their grades, and then keep track of their progress. It can feel complicated at first, especially if you're not used to grading yet, but I promise that the more you do it, the easier it becomes. If you found this video helpful, I hope that you'll check out Build Your Library curriculum. Build Your Library is a secular, literature-rich homeschool curriculum inspired by Charlotte Mason's philosophy of education. Based on nearly 20 years of homeschooling, I created the curriculum that I wished I'd had when I first started homeschooling. I have spent thousands of hours cultivating the best literature to enhance your child's studies. Our lesson plans make homeschooling simple. Just open them up, gather your books, and go. Our easy-to-use lesson plans include everything you need to homeschool. Just add math. Choose from our full year K-12 levels, as well as our fun topical unit studies and our newest product, Lit Bites. With Build Your Library, you will cultivate a home library filled with captivating literature, and you'll raise children who become lifelong learners. So snuggle up with our lesson plans and a great book or three and have your best homeschool year ever. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this tidbit to be helpful. Please remember to come back next time for more homeschooling inspiration. Until then, happy reading. Bye.